Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 92 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that two of them think doing a podcast called Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea is a pretty neat idea. They are Jeff and Bryan. Hi there, this is Jeff. I'm with my friend Bryan, and this is our bonus episode.
Hey Jeff, how are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Bryan. How are you?
Well, frankly, Jeff, I'm feeling a little batty.
Batty? Why are you feeling batty?
Oh, it's all about this cover picture. Have you seen this thing?
I have. That is a frightening depiction of Agrajag.
Yeah, it is. Agrajag at his best, I think, huh?
Yes. He's red. He's got the teeth that go every direction. He's got 3 eyes. Looks like he's got Band-Aids.
Yep.
Crossing an X all over his wings, which have holes in them.
Oh gosh, yep. It's great. I mean, it's a great image here. But what's funny again is that here we see Arthur with dark hair and dark beard and dark mustache, but his purple robe is definitely a slightly different color, and now he's got leopard prints on his satchel that he carries with him.
Yes, well, that bag keeps changing on him.
Yeah, it does. It does. We know it does, as he's matter transmitted through the different areas that he's going to.
Yes. So Arthur is standing amongst a whole bunch of tombstones, all which have Agrajag's name on them, and different depictions of what he was in that incarnation. So we got a fish and a rabbit.
Yeah, there's a snail and a frog.
And then there's a squirrel up top on the pedestal.
Yep. Well, remember how he has them identified by classification there? That pedestal is very large, so.
Yes.
That squirrel was important.
Right. And there are a lot of tombstones in the distance.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. Amazing image. Making me feel batty today.
So that's a little preview of the Cathedral of Hate, which is going to appear in this book number 2 of 3 of Life, the Universe, and Everything. Again, we'll just kind of zip through the pages. This is just the publication copyright page. And then we come to the creators page, where we do have a couple of new editions. This time, the breakdowns are going to be done by Christopher Schenk, and the lettering is going to be done by Clem Robbins.
Clem, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
No, sounds like he could be flolloping around in Squanchulus.
Oh, very well, yes. He could be hanging out with them.
Yes.
One of them, anyway.
Yeah. So, for those of you who came in late, is the next page where they tell you what has happened in the previous issue.
Picture of our friend Zaphod with a bottle of Old Jank Spirit in his hand.
Yes.
And all the details of what has happened in the past.
And the way they are drawn, his boots look like they have eyes.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
It's like, I don't remember him having boots from the planet Bunchwella or something.
Bootwella?
Bootwella.
Well, they say that everything exists in the universe as infinite as ours.
Right. So now we will get to page 1.
Here we see Slarty Bartfast's Bistro Mathic's ship flying through the air in the style of the book, as we've seen in the past, with the pink, light pink colors.
Yes.
top panel shows Arthur and Ford clinging to a sofa. And on the bottom panel, we see our two friends from Cricket saying, "It'll have to go."
Yes. That is quite a ship, though. The Beastromath ship is really quite fantastic.
It's very spiky. But at least they're consistent. Now they're using these circles and half moon shapes to show the effect of the ship flying through space.
Yes. So we are now back on Slarty Bartfast's ship, the Beastromath, where they were all sitting around a big dining table and having dinner, and Slarty Bartfast is explaining how Cricket was transformed from charming and delightful, intelligent, ordinary people into charming, delightful, intelligent, manic xenophobes.
And then Arthur asks the question as he's sitting at the table, "What do I do with this chicken?"
And he's saying, just toy with it any way you like. And somehow all of that is guiding the ship.
Right, and in the middle panel, you see the ship zigzagging along through space as different things happen on the table. Slarty taking a drink. Arthur returning the wine because it doesn't taste good.
Yes.
Each one of them causes a zig or a zag in space.
And then they leave and go into the room of informational illusions.
Oh, they're back there again, huh?
Yes. And this is where they get to witness the Cricket war crimes trial.
Mm-hmm. And here the judge does not look nearly as regal as he did in the previous images.
No, he doesn't. Because this time they call him His High Judgmental Supremacy Judiciary Pag, LIVR. And LIVR apparently stands for Learned, Impartial, and Very Relaxed.
Yes, as he's sitting there in his bedroom slippers, what looks like some kind of a Hawaiian shirt and a pair of shorts.
Yes, and he does look very relaxed.
Very relaxed.
Judiciary Pag is talking to the people of the universe, saying, okay, so you wouldn't necessarily want to share a universe with these guys. I mean, they're just obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Literally obsessed. How else could they have come up with the bewilderingly efficient death machines such as these? And they're showing Exhibit A and Exhibit B.
Right.
And there's all kinds of omni-destructo zap rays and maxi-slorda hypernuclear devices and ultimatomic washer. They just got all kinds of weapons.
There is an interesting variety of individuals in the audience. There's an insectoid-like creature that appears to be taking all of the notes.
Yes. So Judiciary Pag is now talking about how they won, but it's no big deal because a medium-sized galaxy against one little cricket world. But how long did it take? And it took 2,000 years. And how many guys zilched out? Roughly 2 grillion.
Grillion. I love it.
That's a whole lot of stiffs. So again, he's talking about how this bunch of really sweet guys, but you wouldn't want to share a universe with them unless they learn to relax, because he's so relaxed in his recliner there.
So here we are with Pag again. He's obviously asked for a drink from the insectoid individual. The insectoid brings him a drink. He's got a drink in his hand as he's repeating back the words peace, justice, morality, and a lot worse. And then he does the classic spit take.
Yes, he does. And then he says something that I only thought Zaphod said.
I know. He goes, "Free-ow! Is there something in this water?"
And he's told that there's not.
Then take it away and put something in it. Oh, gosh, that's great. And then Pag goes on to say that he's come up with an idea.
Yes.
And the next page begins his description.
So Pag had this idea that if they encased the whole planet of cricket in a slow time envelope, life would continue real laid back and extremely slow. Then they would deflect all light from around the envelope and make it invisible and impenetrable, no chance of escape, of course unless it's unlocked from the outside.
There's always an escape clause, right?
Yes. And then when the universe ends and all other life and matter ceases to be, then the planet of cricket and its sun would reemerge from the slow time envelope and continue a solitary existence in the twilight of the universal void. With these dudes under lock and key, the galaxy will once again be a cool and happening place to be in.
Hoorah! Says the audience.
Yes, they all cheer.
And then a gal from the audience who has one up on Eccentrica Golumbits sends him a note to meet him in the shower in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And now they're on the beach.
Oh, here she is in all her glory. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
She's got Vulcan ears, I can say that.
I didn't even know she had ears.
Oh, Jeff. Oh, my goodness gracious.
In the room of informational illusion, Slarty Bart, Fast Forward, and Arthur are all looking forward in time. And the girl from the jury is putting suntan lotion on Judiciary Pag. And it was told that the cricket judgment was carried out today. And she said that she heard it on the radio when I went back to the ship for some oil. And just after the slow time envelope was locked, a cricket warship, missing, presumed destroyed, turned up and tried to seize the key. And that freaked this guy out.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to calm him down.
Right. It's all right. Calm down. And then she goes on to say there was sort of a battle thingy, and the key and the warships were disintegrated and blasted into the space-time continuum. Apparently there to be lost forever.
And Slarty Bartfast is saying nothing is lost forever except the Cathedral of Calism. So that's just another one of these, hey, I've got an idea for a joke.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And we're just going to shoehorn it in right here.
Arthur says, the what?
And he says, all will become clear.
Oh, goodness gracious. Now he goes on to discuss the time streams being polluted with all kinds of flotsam and jetsam.
And Arthur has to tell Ford that she's gone.
The young lady is gone.
The illusion is gone, and the lady is no longer there. And Ford is reminding Slarty that he mentioned a party.
Ford's got a one-track mind, doesn't he?
He does.
And for some reason, they seem to be traveling down a set of stairs to get out of the room of illusions, which is kind of odd.
Yes. So here's where Slarty starts talking about the campaign for real time, which he will tell you about later.
But I love this, though. Oh, this is funny. I didn't even think about it until I was looking at this top panel on the left here. Of course, it's a bistro or bistro math. You know, his ship is a bistro. So
right.
After leaving the room of illusions, they go to the coat check.
The coat check, yes.
Where there's a robot handing him his robes so he can put them back on. Oh, that's a nice bit of comic drawing there, because obviously that is not in the book. No. And then they head towards the bathroom. Now, I remember this scene in the book, but I forgot what they're doing.
That's how they transport out of the ship, I think.
This is the transporter room. And they cram themselves in And there's Arthur and Ford and Slarty's holding onto the chain that's going to flush the toilet.
Right.
And of course, the kerploosh sound is made in the bottom as they vanish into space or out of space.
Out of space. I totally forgot how disjointed this book is.
Right.
Because
it's all over the freaking place.
It jumps and is talking about time travel being regarded as a menace, and history is being polluted. And they use the Lalafa poet, who wrote all of the finest poems in existence, the songs of the long land.
Right. And there's a whole page describing the writing of those pieces of poetry to the lovely woman who fell in love with him all over again after reading his poetry.
Yes. And then, shortly after the invention of time travel, some major correcting fluid manufacturer decided that they wanted to capitalize.
Oh, again, some brilliant drawing here as the executives step out of a container that looks like a whiteout bottle.
Yes, it's very reminiscent of a TARDIS, though.
Oh, yes, it is. In the previous picture, it looks like a TARDIS at the bottom, and the whiteout container on the top.
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. And then they convince the artist to use some whiteout while he's writing his poetry.
He made the cover of Vanity Fair.
Oh, gosh.
And now people are saying that the poems are suddenly worthless because he never lost the girl that he wrote all the poems about, but wrote all the poems because they brought the poems he wrote to him in the past. So it's that whole time travel pollution. And kind of the reason the campaign for real time exists.
Right. And then we are told why the Cathedral of Kalezim doesn't actually exist.
Right.
So it goes on to describe how the new ion refinery had to go back so far in time to be created and built on time that it actually preceded the creation of the Cathedral of Kalezim. So the cathedral, in fact, was never built. And then they show a lovely picture of a guy on the street selling blank photographs.
Yes.
Of where the cathedral never existed.
Right. Because those picture postcards became very valuable.
Oh, gosh.
So while Ford and Slarty Bartfast traveled to the party, we're going to assume, Arthur ends up somewhere else.
Yes, he's been diverted.
Yes, he has.
Oh, I love it. All black screens with the highlighted letters appearing in the sky.
Yes.
As they're described in the book.
Yeah, telling him not to think and do not be alarmed. Be very, very frightened.
Oh, very nice. Very nicely drawn.
Yeah, you definitely get this feeling that he is in pitch black with no concept of where he is.
Exactly. And then he sees a giant fly.
Who says, I bet you weren't expecting to see me again. Or perhaps you remember me better as the rabbit. Born in darkness, raised in darkness. One morning I poked my head for the first time into the bright new world and got it split open by a primitive flint instrument made by you, Arthur Dent, and wielded by you.
You turned my skin into a bag for keeping interesting stones in. Just interesting that he knows he did that, because obviously he'd be dead already. That's not the kind of thing I want to remember after I die. My skin be turned into a bag.
No. Well, I think that the reason that he knew he was turned into a bag is because he then became a fly that he got swatted by the bag he was made.
Exactly. Then he puts rocks in it and manages to kill a lizard with the same bag.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But of course, Agrajag notices that he lost the bag.
Right.
So if he got bored with it.
Right. And then it's on this panel, or this page now, where he shows the fly and the lizard, where the bone magically reappears in the beard.
Yes, and disappears again. Oh, no,
Yep.
it's in...
sort
I
of
guess it is
there.
in all of
You
them.
can barely
Yeah.
see it, but then it's prominent down there at the bottom panel.
They never really explain how the bone got in his beard. Was
No,
it
they
just
don't. They
eating? It just,
don't. Yeah, after he ate, he just, left it there.
after he ate the rabbit.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
And Agrajag going on and on about more of the ways he was killed and how he is the only one that is being reincarnated that really knows it's happening to him.
Mm-hmm.
But he became aware very, very slowly. Because in every life he ever lived, on any world, any time, he got killed by Arthur Dent. And here's the moment when he last knew.
And there they show the giant cave that is Arthur's mouth as the fork is going in.
With an oyster or something.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that's quite gross.
Yeah. Agrajag wants him to just tell him it was a coincidence.
Oh.
And if it wasn't a coincidence, then my name is not Agrajag.
And presumably, you would claim that that was your name.
Yes!
Well, it was still a coincidence, says Arthur.
Well, come in here and say that. And he gets called further deeper into the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Where he comes upon a statue. That is even more impressive than I could have ever possibly imagined.
Yes, exactly. It's fantastic. I love how this statue, we've already talked about this, but the radio show talks about the statue of Arthur that's on the... I can't remember the name of the planet it's on. Do you?
I don't remember the planet, but it's with the lentillas. It's when he ended up in the cup.
Right, exactly. So the planet with the lentillas and the cup and all that kind of stuff. And he never wants to let a good joke go by.
No.
So here's Agrajag's depiction of that sculpture. Although, in retrospect, this one's only, I don't know, what would you say, 100 feet tall?
Maybe a little bit more, but it's certainly not 5 miles or whatever it was.
But I love how it's in the cathedral and you can see the hundreds or thousands of gravestones in the background.
Yes.
And then the word Dent on the stone. And Arthur's saying, oh my God. And in the shadowy background, reflected on Arthur's back, you can see Agrajag's form as it starts to materialize in the scene. Yes.
And this is Arthur with many, 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 many arms, all apparently killing some incarnation of Agrajag. And here we get to see Agrajag again in close up and personal.
With his wicked teeth pointing in every different direction. And his torn body and flesh.
And he's explaining that his last body that was killed by Arthur Dent, he was at a cricket match. And his wife had said, what can happen at a cricket match? And what happened?
2 people magically appeared out of thin air and just right in front of me. The last thing I noticed before my poor heart gave out.
Is that one of them is Arthur Dent. Wearing a rabbit bone in his beard. Coincidence?
Arthur says, yes? Oh my gosh. And Agrajag is enraged.
In the book and the radio series, in a way, I think they are trying to say that the same guy that had that heart attack on the pitch that was insulted by Wowbagger was Agrajag.
Yes.
But he doesn't mention that. He says the last thing that he remembers is that it was Arthur Dent. So
Yes.
the whole he
doesn't remember his encounter with
Wowbagger.
Wowbagger, which is the actual last thing that happened to him, but he does remember seeing Arthur.
Yes. So he must have been too far gone when Wowbagger insulted him just before he died.
Arthur tries to defend himself by saying it's a coincidence again.
And to go back for just a second, Agrajag also doesn't say, and my name happened to be Arthur Philip Deodat.
Oh, that sounds like a coincidence.
Yes. Coincidence? So Agrajag just wants to know what Arthur has against him.
And of course, Arthur has no answer.
No. And he apologizes, of course. Terrible misunderstanding. Gotta go. I mean, saving the universe.
What's funny, in the top right panel of this particular image, there's behind Arthur, whose bags somehow looks like it turned yellow.
Yeah.
Or
is that just a stone on the floor?
Oh, maybe it's a stone on the floor, yeah. Is some kind of red button with 4 arrows pointing right at it.
4 red arrows pointing at a red button in the middle of a table.
Exactly.
And then Agrajag is also talking about how at one point he decided just to give up and stay in the netherworld. And then he got yanked back into the physical world as a bowl of petunias. And that life ended a short time later in the fresh wreckage of a whale. My spirit brother.
Oh, gosh. And this is the one that we just don't quite get when he says, I fell towards the planet and I couldn't help noticing a flashy white spaceship, and staring out of a porthole was a smug-looking Arthur Dent. Coincidence?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know a bowl of petunias had a pair of eyes, but then again, what do I know?
Yeah. So now they show another picture of this table, and there's the word destruct written under the button.
Yep.
And Arthur's explaining that he has to go save the universe, and it's a tricky thing to do, dead.
Mm-hmm. And then we find Agrajag's one fatal flaw.
Yes.
He says, what about the time on Stavromula Beta? Someone tried to assassinate you, and you ducked.
What are you talking about? I've never been there.
You must have been there, says Agrajag.
I've never been there. I've never had anyone other than you try to assassinate me.
And he says, in a regretful face, tearing at his face, he says, you haven't been to Stavromula Beta yet? And then he says, oh, Zark, I brought you here too soon.
But he says, I'm going to kill you anyway. I'm going to blow this whole mountain up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see you get out of this one, Dent. And Arthur then notices the button.
And says, no, don't do it. I didn't mean to kill you. And he flies after him as Agrajag gets prepared to hit the button and trips and just flattens Agrajag out against the rock, smashing his head into the button.
It's pretty thin-skinned. He just kind of pops.
Yes, exactly.
You've done it again, eh? What do you want from me? Blood? And then his dying head falls and actually presses the button.
There you go. Uh-huh.
And then
the obligatory chase scene as Arthur runs madly out of the mountain.
And then there's an explosion and he's thrown forward. Wow, we've never seen that before anywhere. However, he's pretty darn high.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how he could possibly survive that fall.
Mm-hmm. And in the next page, the avalanche began.
And then it says that Arthur suddenly felt the force of the word landslide in a way that had never been apparent to him before. I guess you cannot truly appreciate a landslide until you have been in a landslide.
And he's falling forward and knocks his foot onto a rock, flying in the air. Rocks are falling all around him.
Yes.
And just as he's about to hit the ground, he looks up and sees
Arthur Dent's bag lost in the baggage retrieval system at Athens Airport 10 years previously.
Where the hell did that come from, says Arthur, and completely forgets to fall to the ground, thus flying.
He was flying. And Arthur's like, I missed the ground, but how? And instinctively he knows that he must not think about it.
For if he did, the laws of gravity would gaze sharply in his direction and demand to know what the hell he was doing up there. So he thought about tulips.
Lots of them.
It worked.
He grew bored with this train of thought and tried a new one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was in his bag? That must be the only Greek olive oil still surviving in the universe. And so after a couple of practice swoops, the air threw itself past him, and he thrilled through it. But there was a sudden, dangerous moment when he could no longer believe he was doing this, and therefore wasn't.
But somehow he managed to pick up his bag and land on the ground without killing himself.
This is a pretty good depiction of him flying and falling, where it's just his legs and one hand sticking up out of the bottom of the frame.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He is definitely going down.
And then he manages to do it again, where he's on the ground, he gets up, trips, gets distracted, and starts flying again.
He's trying to remember the contents of his bag.
Yes, the Retsina.
Yes, the duty-free Retsina. That's what he just thought about in order to distract himself to fly once again. And then it looks like he crashed into something.
Yes, and we're finally at the party.
The longest, most destructive party ever held,
Mm-hmm.
now into its 4th generation, and still shows signs of no one leaving.
I love the picture. You know, it's like the floating castle, and there on the bottom in kind of a highlighted silhouette is Arthur with his arms outflung, his back towards the party island.
Right. Yes. Oh, and here we get to use his favorite joke. We haven't had it for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where he talks about the problems caused by selective breeding and regressive genes, means that all the people at the party are absolutely fanatic partygoers, gibbering idiots, or both.
Then there's a picture, next panel in the picture is them in the washroom, which definitely looks like it could use a good wash.
Yes. Guy thrown up in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
A snake at the urinal, and that's not a euphemism. And then there's a guy that is like a gunner that I think are he's protecting the party from, in case they get into petty squabbles with any wine merchants.
Definitely has a serious weapon there.
Yes. But the biggest problem they have is, when is the drink going to run out? Now we see Arthur clinging to the side of the building on a narrow ledge.
With the towel draped over his head so he can't see what he's doing. Oh my gosh.
Putting his towel to proper use.
Mm-hmm. Reaches around the corner, and whose hand does he grab? But
Ford's!
of course. And Ford asks, where the zarking photon have you been?
Here and there, you know. He wants to know what they're doing up here.
It's that stupid party, says Ford. They won't let us in without a bottle, says Slarty Bartfast. And Arthur says, will this do? As he pulls out his Retsina.
Yes. And then, wow, what a party. And it looks like the jury chick is there again.
Well, I can only see half of her if that's her, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I always wonder whether these people in the crowd, whether they're actually cartoon characters of the individuals who drew the cartoon.
Right.
That's their claim to fame. I'm in every cartoon I've ever drawn.
And so I'm not quite sure what this is, but there's these flying bat-like creatures that come down and take the Retsina out of Arthur's hand. And then yelling, crap, crap, a new pleasure, crap, a new pleasure.
Oh my goodness. And then down in the bottom panel, we have a gentleman, kind of looks like Elvis, holding a bottle that says Pure Death. Oh, actually, that's the neighbor holding the bottle. That's a green hand. And then what do we got over here? Jerry Garcia. And then there, you can barely see Trillian talking to Thor in the background.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, you really, unless you knew it was Thor, you would never guess that was Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Or Trillian, for that matter.
Right. Yeah, this particular image has quite a bit of distracting dimensionality to it.
Yes. There's a bottle, what's it called? Sure Death?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Oh my goodness, look at this image of Thor.
Yes.
He's all chin.
He is all chin. They have not named him Thor yet.
No, they haven't. And his hand is about the size of Trillian.
Yes. And he's leaning against the wall and it cracked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then here, yes, Trillian does say, have you met Thor? He makes thunder. And Thor asks Arthur if he's got a drink, and Arthur tells him no, so he says, why don't you go get one?
And then Trillian says, see you later, Arthur.
As he's rubbing his hand.
Right.
Because Thor crushed it when he shook it.
Right, and then Dr. Seuss is in the background here with his big purple hat on.
Yeah. Or Willy Wonka.
Willy Wonka. Yeah, it could be Willy Wonka. Yep.
Or the Mad Hatter.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they can draw one character that could be many different people for many different people.
Exactly.
And again, in this book, Trillian has been drawn quite differently than she has everywhere else, where she's become very Jessica Rabbit-ish.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very glamorous and curvy.
Right. And then we've already talked about this joke, but there at the bottom panel, we've got Slarty Bartfast saying the joke that one of the most interesting things about space is how dull it is.
Yes.
Talking to a wide-eyed woman.
He's just trying to make her go away. So he keeps going on.
Right. And then apparently her gown, which kind of looks like a barrel, has the ability to lift her off into space.
Yes. Yeah. I thought she'd never go.
And he says, Slarty says, come now, Earthman, we must find the silver bale. Think of the danger to the universe.
Like, all right, I'll wander around and see if anyone has seen it. So before you turn the page, what do you think the award is going to be for?
I don't know. It's a comic book.
I'm going to say it's got to be Belgium.
Belgium? Okay, let's say Belgium.
You know, most gratuitous use of the word Belgium in a serious screenplay.
That's right. I think they could get away with that on a comic book. Shall we?
Yep.
So he goes first to a green-looking guy. Kind of looks like Yoda.
Yeah. Smoking a cigar. Asking him if he's ever seen a silver bale, you know, future of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And Ford's dancing with a blue alien, saying he likes her hat. And she doesn't have a hat.
Her head.
Nice bone structure. As she leans in close and pokes him in the forehead.
And then we have the conversation continuing with the Yoda-looking character who looks across between Yoda and, who's that? I can't think of the guy. The insult comic.
Don Rickles.
Don Rickles. Doesn't he, though? That's exactly
Yes, he does.
That's exactly who I was thinking about. So Arthur is telling him the tale, and of course the only thing the guy wants to do is get away from Arthur.
Yes. And Slarty Bartfast is in the background with some really drunk thing clinging to him, talking about how much they love him.
I know too many people that act like that when they're drunk.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Arthur's drinking something that causes him to start coughing like mad.
Yes.
Vigorously choking himself. And the Yoda character saying, "Can I join you?" And he starts coughing and hacking. And and then he says, "So invigorating. What an exciting life you must lead. Thank you so much." The gentleman goes running off and says, "Yoo-hoo, Roger, over here. Have you tried this coughing thing?" After the scene with all the coughing.
Yes. Some guy with a bunch of gold chains,
right,
kind of resembling Elvis.
Finally approached by the gentleman who won the Rory Award. Yes. Or at least we assume
we were assuming that, yes.
And the guy looks like he has no eyes, which is really odd.
Right. Talks out of the side of his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Slicked back hair. Oh, he was chewing gum.
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping it around his finger.
And, of course, Arthur is totally unimpressed with the guy.
And the guys tell him about this guy in the mountain that wanted to see him. Because he found out that was Arthur Dent. And he's like, "Hey, I've already seen him." And he says, "All right, just telling you, good luck, good night, win awards."
What?
Like,
says Arthur.
Yeah. Hey, whatever, do what you do it well.
Why?
So he's, "Do it badly, who cares, who gives us what? Get off my back, will you, guy? Just zark off." So this guy who was just trying to be helpful got all upset at Arthur for no apparent reason.
Well, there is an apparent reason.
Because Betty Boop showed up.
Yes, exactly. Gal works her way up to Arthur, who looks like Uma Thurman, at least her hair.
Yes.
Looks like Uma Thurman.
And under her hair.
Yeah, well, yeah, her shoulders look a lot like Uma Thurman.
Just of this picture. I said Betty Boop, but it really isn't necessarily Betty Boop because Betty Boop's got different hair and she's more cartoonish. But she's very, very glamorous in a Betty Boop type pose.
Yes, you're right.
Directly underneath her, she's in a profile talking to Arthur and couldn't look worse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That is the worst picture. And then below that, in the bottom panel, she looks like a Flintstone.
Yep. so she goes from Betty Boop to Uma Thurman to Pebbles.
Well, no, there's a Betty Boop to Uma Thurman to I don't even know what kind of creature that would be. Down to Wilma Flintstone.
Right. But there's two other things that are really, and of course, on the second set of panels, the word is, of course,
Belgium.
Yep. But here in the background, you see Popeye.
Yep.
And this ghost character next to him looks familiar too. I'm trying to think what that's from.
And then in the next panel, because she's talking about the word Belgium in a serious screenplay, the next panel after that, the lower left corner, would be the film critic Leonard Maltin.
Yeah, it does look like him. That's funny. And then on the bottom, of course, we get the whoop as and the cricket spaceship appears right into the middle of the party.
Right. And she says, "What did you say?" And Arthur says he was going to ask about the silver thing. And she's like, "Oh, I thought you said WAP."
Oh, my goodness. That's quite a panel there. And then The next panel shows the Cricket spaceship is clearly as big as the party itself, and it's materialized through the middle of it.
Yes.
Arthur recognizes the Cricket robots.
Yep.
They are now flying around, and apparently at one point in the middle panel, you see a robot with the Rory Award.
Yep.
Although it doesn't look anything like a Bale. It's a...
Well, they fashioned it into the Rory Award.
I guess so, yep.
I don't think that the Heart of Gold had the literal Heart of Gold as a Bale.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't remember if they showed it. Did they show it? No, they just took it and left.
Right. So this Rory looks kind of like a little mountain on a piece of ebony or something.
Yeah, upside down shark tooth or something.
Yeah, there you go. And then the bottom panel goes foop.
Yep, and they're gone.
Arthur and Ford are under a large piece of wood, it looks
Upturned
like.
furniture, overturned table or something.
Mm-hmm.
And looks like they're dead people around them.
Yeah. Lots of dead people.
All over.
And then, of course, Ford helps us all out here. He says, we'd like to stay and help, only we're not going to. We've got to save the universe. And if that sounds like a pretty lame excuse, then you may be right.
Either way, we're off.
That's right.
Do you mind if we take this? You won't be needing it. And he's grabbing crisps in a bottle.
Yep.
And then Arthur doesn't want to leave without Trillian, so he's got to go get her to leave Thor.
Mm-hmm.
Thor's like, the girl stays with me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a party in Valhalla. We'll be flying off soon.
Right. And of course, Trillian is literally sitting on Thor's hand in the next scene.
Arthur wants to know where Thor was when all of that was going on, and he explains that he was upstairs weighing Trillian because flying's a tricky business. And again, Thor says, she comes with me. Slarty says, come on, Earthman. And Ford says, come on, Slarty Bartfast. And the whole time that Thor and Arthur are arguing of who Trillian is going with, she's asking, hey, don't I get a say?
Then Arthur puts up his dukes and says, want to make something of it? Oh my gosh. And Thor says, I beg your minuscule pardon. And here he's got a hammer, but it doesn't look anything like the hammer of Thor. Not to me, anyway.
No, it's wooden hammer.
Yep.
Arthur asks if he wants to step outside.
Mm-hmm.
And he opens the door, and Thor goes and is gone.
He falls. And Arthur lets the door close behind him and says, good, that's got rid of him.
Yep.
Oh, we're all the way to the last panel. Oh, my goodness.
Slarty says, well then, I suppose there's nothing to do now but go and save the universe ourselves.
And now, it's funny because throughout the scenes of the party, we see Arthur, Trillian, Slarty, and Ford. Ford looks quite disheveled in this image.
Yes, he does.
Compared to
and older.
The way he came into the scene. So that is quite interesting.
And it says, to be continued. And then there's a little preview of what's going to come up in the next issue. It says, in issue 3, you will discover, along with Ford, Arthur, Trillian, and Slarty Bartfast, the secret to Cricket spaceflight and why they want to destroy the galaxy. You'll discover what Marvin has been doing since we last saw him, and how he gets to be the hero, although he still gets no respect. And you'll be pleased to see that Arthur gives up his galactic hitchhiking and adopts a planet.
And don't dare miss the stunning conclusion to the mind-boggling hunt for the answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything, number 3.
And then there's a picture of Arthur facing off with a cricket robot, and he's got a cricket bat. Thought that the cricket robot might have a cricket ball in his hand, but he doesn't.
It's on its way to Arthur, I assume.
Yeah. And again, we've got the creators page in all of their bios.
It's funny here. It talked about a couple of the different people that we hadn't seen, before this particular issue. And you said it was Christopher Schenck.
Mm-hmm.
He has provided his refined line work for Eclipse Comics, DC Comics, Dark Horse Comics, and Bryan Pressy Visual Productions, in addition to providing pencil breakdowns for the Life universe and everything. But what I think is funny is down here it says Clem Robbins got his big showbiz break in 1977, lettering a Dudley Do-Right story for Gold Key Comics. He works for every company that will hire him and is attempting to get work from the others. His stuff appears regularly in Hellblazer, Preacher, Mr. Miracle, The Invisibles, DC, and The Adventures of the Mask, and Godzilla for Dark Horse, and the Spectacular Spider-Man for Marvel.
Yes. Yeah. They are pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got some publication page. And then we get to the back cover, which is supposed to get us to buy this issue. It says, prehistoric castaways Ford Prefect and Arthur Dent have escaped from prehistoric Earth on a Chesterfield sofa, only to find the universe is about to be destroyed by the obsessive people of Cricket.
So begins the second part of the final saga of the search for life, the universe, and everything, in which the following is revealed.
The solution to what do we do with the Cricket robots now that we've beaten them?
Who the monster Agrajag is and why he needs to kill Arthur Dent.
How Arthur learns to fly, and the fat lot of good it does him.
What happened?
It did him a lot of good. It did him a lot of good.
What's happening at the longest and most destructive party ever held?
Where Trillian has been all this time, and with whom?
How Arthur plans to defeat the Norse god of thunder in a fight to the death.
I guess that one kind of answered that last one.
Oh, that's great. Oh, this good stuff, good stuff. Well, Jeff, what's next?
What's next is to, I think, the cheers and delight of all of our listeners, will be the final comic book that we will ever do a podcast about.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Which will be the third installment of Life, the Universe, and Everything.
Excellent, excellent. I look forward to it.
Yeah, so do I.
Well, Jeff, I think we've reached the end here, so I think it's time for you to say...
Like the universe, I also have to go.
Well, there's nothing stopping you. I mean...
No. Bye. Thank you for listening to Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea. Look for us the first Thursday of every month for a full episode. We will also release a bonus episode later in the month. A very special thanks goes out to Luke, Max, Greg, and Tim Lesnick for arranging and performing our opening theme. We would also like to thank our talented friends and family for their voice work on our introductions and commercials. Visit our website at digitalwatchesareaprettyneatidea.buzzsprout.com, where you can find links to all my Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy inspired t-shirt designs. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube as Digital Watches Are a Pretty Neat Idea, on Instagram at Watches Idea Podcast, and on Twitter, or should I say X, at Watches Idea. If you'd like to contact us, our email is digitalwatchespodcast@gmail.com.
This has been a Froods for Thought production.